Namaste. Thank you for tuning in with us. I'm Clarence Dow, and I'm an advocate for holistic musicianship. I I offer my self as a performing artist, as a teacher, as a coach, to help others gain clarity, heal, and transform through music. And you can find out more information about me at clarencedow.com. I'm so happy to have Maria Skinner with me. And Maria is the owner and the director of Yoga and Nia for Life in West Concord, Massachusetts. She's been practicing Nia in the Boston area since 1997, and she also offers astrological consultations via embodied astrology. And you can find out more about her work at Yoga and Nia, that's Nia, Yoga and Nia for Life.com. So, Maria, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Clarence. It's great to be here. And hello, everybody out there.
You are in a great place, it seems. You are the owner and the director of your own studio. You're doing what you love. I took your class, which I blogged about a couple weeks ago, and it was just fabulous. The energy was contagious. It was really high. It was very ecstatic. And as a musician, that really helps me to connect with what is pure in my heart, and that's what I want to come across. So Nia, I think, is such a valuable tool that I found. So maybe you could talk to us about, what is Nia?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something. Nia has a lot of different applications, like many things. And the way that I use Nia is that I really do use it um, to connect to the body as a vessel for celebration. So
Mm,
that's kind of my subjective piece. Nia itself is a blend of martial arts, dance arts, and healing arts. So
mm,
it has that component of bringing precision, expression, and healing movement together. Now, the relationship it has to music is really special because as Nia teachers and Nia practitioners, we really spend a lot of time connecting with the music in an intimate way. So we develop a relationship with the music so that once we're dancing, we are, in some ways, using our bodies as musical instruments. Using, like, I feel like I use
mm,
my body to help people in my class really hear what's happening in the music
mm,
and be able to dance to it and connect with themselves.
mm,
And, aside from the spiritual component, I do feel that the embodiment piece really has to do with being present and wanting to be in my body at that moment. So the pleasure piece that Nia brings into dancing for me is very much about I experience so much pleasure dancing and listening to music that I don't want to be anywhere else.
mm,
It really seduces me into wanting to be in the moment.
mm. I really find it really beautiful how Nia puts this emphasis. I mean, so you're taking from yoga. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many different styles of yoga. Not necessarily going to be a relaxing experience, although that is the goal. Then you have martial arts, which is much more about directing your force and your power, which is a very valuable thing. And then you have the dance pieces, and you also have your Alexander technique, which is about having full use of the body and being in proper
Right.
alignment and everything. So, how does this all come together and around this pleasure principle? And how
Okay.
can
Yeah.
this help us um, to create in a way that isn't blocked by our fear? So, like what you just said about when you do a move and you're recognizing, oh, I just don't have this move. It's part of the process. How can we
Yeah. Yeah.
allow that to
Okay, well,
happen?
let me catch it in one place. One of the things is that ultimately it's a practice that's about building awareness and awareness of specifically initially physical sensation.
Mm,
So it's really about connecting to the body, and then ultimately, because there's all these the movement variety, the movement forms. I feel like it's about giving people more access to themselves, so I feel more of who I am, so I can be playing with the martial artist energy, but I can also be playing with anger, or I can be playing with passion, or I can be playing with being very precise. And then with the expressive arts, I can be playing with jazz, or I can be playing with the modern dance moodiness, or with lightness, Duncan dance. So I'm getting to, in the same way that a muscle has all this range, then I can play with the range of my expression through my movement. And to me, that feels good. Then there's the Feldenkrais, Alexander, and yoga, which is more about bringing awareness, and then awareness of the little things, the little movements that I do. So for instance, Feldenkrais teaches people how to change habits by noticing how they're moving. And we don't actually do Feldenkrais, but we do take that attention to detail. And then the attention to what the intrinsic body is doing. And there's a lot of pleasure in just connecting to physical sensation, but connecting to physical sensations that feel good. And so then when we're playing with that whole range of motion, it's almost like I'm giving every cell in my body a place to express itself, or a way to express itself. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. So what if there's something like a major issue, like some injury that needs to be worked through? How do we get to a place where we can include that in the play?
Yeah, well, okay, so then the other thing, too, that you were saying about making a mistake. So making a mistake, almost doesn't exist in the Nia realm of expression.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, I may not do a move exactly the way I'm supposed to do it, but I can still enjoy the experience. So that's kind of in there. So if somebody has an injury, then they work with what in Nia we call self-healing, which is really about making yourself feel better. How do you make yourself feel better? So, for instance, I have people come into my class who've just had a knee injury. And so they sit on the ball and they move the rest of their bodies, and,
nice.
They're still able to move. It's not like, one joint is compromised, so then I can't dance. Dancing can happen even if you're laying on a bed. Really. You know what I mean?
You're right. It's injuries. What I've found because I've broken 6 bones. I wrestled in high school. I played football. I did the whole thing with sports, and they've taught me so many lessons about slowing down.
Yes.
About finding the space that I do have to move in. And then finding the new ways to actually be embodied around the whole process, from acceptance to, healing, and eventually, regaining my mobility.
Oh, yeah. Well, the body is like that. The body left to its own devices wants to heal. So some of this really has to do with just tuning into the body's innate wisdom. And so we have this self-healing triad. We have a lot of triads in Nia. So the first one is stimulation, is doing something. So for instance, say I wake up in the morning and my neck is really stiff, okay? And so stimulation, I notice, first I have the awareness, actually. First I have to have the awareness. Now it's interesting because a lot of people in this world aren't even aware that they're in pain until they're really in pain.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we hone in Nia is, can we catch that awareness when it's slight rather than when it's acute?
So the preventative, it's so important to
totally.
Awareness, yeah.
Yeah, so say I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, my neck is stiff. I notice, I have that awareness. And then the stimulation could just be doing this with my head. Now, just the fact that I have the awareness is already starting to transform it. And then when I start doing the movement, so then I would call this stimulation. I'm stimulating the joints of my neck. And then at some point I say, okay, is this making me feel better?
Mm-hmm.
And then I either say yes, no, nothing's changed, and then I can move from there into, so like I'm actively involved in my own self-healing rather than waking up and being like, oh my God, I have a stiff neck, so I'm going to have a stiff neck all day.
Mm.
Which, I used to literally feel like that when I woke up. I used to have stuff going on in my back and my upper back, and I would just wake up and think, oh, today I'm just going to have a bad back day,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just feel like, oh, I can actively be part of the process.
Mm.
And so Nia can be that for a lot of people as well. We move in so many different ways in Nia. So having access to more of ourselves, in some ways, is having access to the 200 bones and 700 muscles in our bodies. And so you come into Nia, you do all kinds of things, tighten and loosen, and then by the end of class, most people feel better. I see it as symbolically like there's my left brain that likes pattern and likes form and is going to be totally into choreography. And then there's my right brain that's just like, I just want to move however I want to move and just follow the music. And then, in a way, we put them together
Mm.
because we say to people, do it your way. But
Yeah.
then there are times when it's more purely like, this is the form, and then this is free dance, freestyle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you, Clarence, some people come into class and they are freaked out at first by not having somebody tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, from
Uh-huh.
a symbolic place, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like, wow, really? Because I hate having people tell me what to do
Uh-huh.
sometimes. So,
Uh-huh.
so people have their own like edge.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an edge for all of us. And it
Yeah.
has crossovers, that can be directly applied to our life. And that's
Yeah.
the value of these artistic practices. It's not a supplement. It's actually enabling us to play, and play being this state of mind where there is simultaneous engagement and
Mm-hmm.
detachment.
Yeah, yeah, right. The practice is the practice. That's what I
Yeah.
keep telling people. Like, we come into this 1 hour class to practice.
Mm-hmm.
The practices that we take into our lives, really. So I think that in some ways, these moments that we spend in studios are can be. They don't have to be, but they can be so profound and meaningful in terms of how what gets taken out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so the invitation, in Nia class, we step in and we step out.
Mm-hmm.
And the stepping in is like, I'm stepping into this experience where I'm going to hold this focus. And we always have a focus for a class, which is the cool mind body. Like, I'm now connecting my mind to my body,
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then the stepping out is stepping out of the experience. Yet the invitation is always to take this out into the world,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And how that could change the world, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Maria, for sharing everything. And it's just a wonderful piece of this of lifestyle musicianship, movement in the body, discovering ourselves, accessing parts within us through creative exploration of space.
Yeah.
It's wonderful stuff.
Yeah, well, I look forward to co-creating.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye.
Bye.